What up YouTube, it's your boy ProfessorStix and I'm back again with another Call of Duty Warzone video. Today we're going to be comparing the FFAR and the RAM-7. We'll be comparing the stats, looking at the best attachments, and we'll be looking at the recoil pattern. If this is your first time here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I make Warzone tips and tricks videos and I compare the best weapons in Warzone so you can rise to the top. Now let's get into it. And from here on out, I'll be calling the FFAR the FAR because saying FFAR a lot is just too much. All right, so let's look at the weapon stats for the FFAR and the RAM-7. So the ADS speed is 238 milliseconds for the FAR, and for the RAM-7, it is 217 milliseconds. For the movement speed, the FAR comes in at 4.69 meters per second, and the RAM-7 comes in at 4.70 meters per second. These are pretty much identical, nothing much to talk about here. For the FAR, the reload speed is 2.48 seconds, and for the RAM-7, the reload speed is 2.40 seconds. For the rate of fire, the FAR comes in at 900 rounds per minute, and the RAM-7 comes in at 856 rounds per minute. Nothing much different here. They are pretty much identical when we're looking at the weapon stats. Let's look at the damage profile. The FAR does 45 damage to the head, which means it's going to take 6 shots to kill an enemy opponent. The RAM-7 does 42 damage to the head, which means it's also going to take 6 shots to kill an enemy opponent. If you're hitting chest shots, the FAR is going to do 33 damage and it's going to take 8 shots to down an enemy opponent. And with the RAM-7, you're going to do 28 damage to the chest and it's going to take 9 shots to kill an enemy opponent. And this is where the FAR outperforms the RAM-7 because it's able to down an enemy opponent with 1 less shot when you're hitting all of your chest shots. Now, when we're looking at the damage fall off for both weapons, the FAR has a damage fall off of 36 meters and the RAM-7 has a damage fall off of 28 meters. This is really good because you can actually use the FAR to further distances, keeping you further away from those SMGs that do a lot of damage up close, and the FFAR is going to be really strong up until 36 meters. Now, keep in mind that the recoil pattern is a little bit harder to control at those distances, but it lets you know that even if you keep your distance in a mid-range gunfight, if you can at least hit 8 chest shots, you're going to be able to down your enemy opponent very quickly. Now, let's look at the TTK when you're hitting your chest shots. If you're facing a fully armored opponent and you hit all chest shots, you are going to down an enemy opponent in 467 milliseconds. Compared to the RAM-7, which does that in 562 milliseconds. This is a big difference. This is 100 milliseconds, and that is a lot in Warzone. With such a fast time to kill, it's actually very competitive with SMGs. All right, so what I've included here is a chart that shows you how many shots it's going to take to kill if you're hitting different headshots. If you hit 1 headshot, it's going to take you 8 shots to kill with the FFAR. If you hit 2 headshots or 3 headshots, it's going to take you 7 shots to kill with the FAR, which means it's going to give you around 400 milliseconds to down an enemy opponent, which is a very competitive TTK. Now, when we look at the RAM-7, there is quite a difference. If you hit 1 headshot, it's going to take 9 shots to kill an enemy opponent, which is going to put you at 662 milliseconds. And then if you hit 2 or 3 headshots, it's still going to take you 8 shots to kill an enemy opponent, which means it's going to take 491 milliseconds. So right now you can see that the FFAR is definitely going to outperform the RAM-7. So let's talk about the situational use. The FFAR is perfect to pair with a sniper rifle or a marksman rifle. If you break armor, you can quickly bring out your FFAR and finish them off, especially with that distance and that really fast TTK. It is the perfect weapon to use at close and medium range when you have it paired with a sniper rifle. Now, like I said, it's really good for close to medium range and the full damage extends to 36 meters, but the recoil becomes really hard to control outside of 50 meters. So you'll mainly want to use this within 30 meters. But again, this is enough space to keep some distance between you and an enemy opponent if they're using like the MAC-10 or any one of the SMGs, but it's also still very effective to use if they're using an AR because of the very competitive TTK. So the FFAR definitely rises above the RAM-7, and now I'm going to share with you the best attachments to use on the FFAR. All right guys, so here is the loadout build for the FFAR. For the muzzle, you're going to want to go with the agency suppressor. For the barrel, you're going to want to go with the 21.2 inch Ranger barrel. This is going to increase your bullet velocity to the maximum that it can go. For the underbarrel, you're going to want to go with the field agent grip, or you can use the bruiser grip, which helps with vertical recoil. But I like the field agent because it does vertical recoil and horizontal recoil. For the ammunition, you're going to want to go with the Salvo 50 round fast mag. And for the 5th attachment, it's entirely up to you. You can go with an optic if you don't like the iron sight. I like the iron sight, so I actually use a stock, but you can use a rear grip or a laser. But for me personally, what I found the best is to actually go with the SAS combat stock. this actually increases your strafing speed. And when I did my test, it increased it by up to 50%. You can go ahead and check that out on your own by testing it out in Plunder. Another one that you can use is the CQB pad. This is going to increase your sprint to fire. So if you like running and gunning, you're jumping into corners, you're just full sprinting, going all out, then the sprint to fire is the best option for you, which would be the CQB pad. But as for me, I'm going with the SAS combat stock. All right, guys, so there is the FFAR build. Now I'm going to show you guys the RAM. It's the typical loadout. It's the monolithic suppressor, the FSS Ranger, the Commando foregrip, 50 round mag, and the TAC laser. All right, guys, let's get into the recoil pattern. So I'm standing 15 meters away from the wall to show you the recoil pattern for the FFAR and the RAM-7. This is fully kitted to help with recoil pattern. Now, if you look at the left, the FFAR goes up to the right slightly, then to the left, and then goes back to the right. And it does kind of an S-shaped recoil pattern. The RAM-7 goes straight up and then veers off to the left on an angle, which can make it a little bit harder to control, especially when you're letting off a lot of shots. Now, I think that the RAM-7 is easy to control because it's just the opposite of the M4, but the FFAR, I think it's very easy to control, especially in those first 10 to 20 shots. It's literally going straight up, and then you just have to counteract for that bounce a little bit, but you know it's going to come right back into the center and go straight up again. So I think it's very easy to control this recoil pattern, but you see for yourself. Make sure you jump into Plunder, try it out, test it out, see if you like the recoil pattern. All right, so here are my final thoughts for the FFAR and the RAM-7. I think the FFAR is definitely better than the RAM-7. The faster time to kill, the increased damage range. It might have a slightly harder recoil pattern just because it's more vertical, but I think vertical recoil is a lot easier to control than horizontal recoil. And so as you saw, the RAM-7 did have a lot of horizontal recoil, whereas the FFAR did have more vertical recoil, and I think that's a lot easier to control. But see for yourself, drop into Verdansk, try out the different attachments, see which one works best for you. As always, guys, appreciate you guys. Make sure you hit that like button, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and make sure you turn on that bell for notification. I'll see you on the next one, and as always, drop into Verdansk and frag out. Peace.
Pull up on me. Sniping on you. There's no shot. What did you just do? What did you just do? Jimmy, I need you to answer me right now.